I cannot even tell you how much I enjoyed working with Jon Stewart. This man is not just kind, nice, humble. He is a true human. And I told him once, I said, John, I love working with you. Day one, he said, I'm not a director. At the end of the day, after we shot a couple of scenes, I went to him and I said, John, you call yourself a non-director. You say that you're not a director. You're a born director, because you're doing exact same thing as other good directors do. You allow the actor to come up with his own interpretation of the role. And then if there are any details left, you would just remind the actor of those details, of those hidden corners, dark corners that the actor most probably has not seen or has not received. He's a very nice man, and what he did, this movie, again, I told him I would always be indebted to him for making this movie. It's called Rosewater, based on a book, Then They Came For Me, written by Maziar Bahari, British, Canadian, Iranian reporter, who's a Canadian citizen, went to Iran 4 years ago to cover the election, but obviously after the disputed elections, he was captured, tortured, and finally released. But this is Maziar's story of him going to Iran and being captured and tortured. And I guess many people ask me why John took this project, and I tell them because I believe, I haven't asked him yet, but I think this is John's take on the violation of journalists' rights around the globe. It's not just about Maziar and what happened in Iran. It's about all the journalists all around the world.
And what is your role in it?
I portray Maziar's mother, Muludun.
First kiss in Arizona, Griffin Goodman. I remember because my mom was honking outside, and I did have braces, and I remember I was chewing gum, and he kind of pulled me in, and I was like, oh God, what, I have gum in, can you kiss with gum? And I was like, ah, and then we kind of like did a little kiss, and then I was like, what do I do? And my mom was like, meep, meep, and I was like, I've got to go. And I ran out, and then I remember I went to school the next week, and my girlfriends were like, you let Griffin Goodman kiss you? And I was like, I'll break up with him.
When Stephen and I first sat down and talked about the possibility of me playing Hannah Schmitz, I really thought, oh no, not me, no, because you're wrong, and I can't do that, you see, because I don't understand this character at all. I can't relate to her. I have really nothing that I can bring from my own life into playing this character.
You couldn't understand what about her?
Many things. I just, you know, how do you relate to an illiterate woman who was an SS guard and served in Auschwitz? I mean, it's extremely difficult to do that. In comparison to some of the other roles I've played, I've always been able to, in some way, connect the dots and draw comparisons to experiences, or certainly similar experiences, in my own life, in my own past. And with this, I had nothing. So I always felt, okay, you're terrified, that's a good thing. Huge leap of faith. Just go in there and make her your own. It was very important for me, though, not to try and humanize her. I had to understand her, and I had to make her a person. You know, as Stephen brilliantly put yesterday, you know, the Holocaust was started by normal people. And it was very important for me to remember that in all my research and reading what I did and discovering what I learned about SS guards, you know, these were young men and women who really didn't know what it was that they were signing up for. And I had to think of Hannah as absolutely one of those people. And she was doing everything she could throughout her life to hide behind her illiteracy, doing anything she could not to be found out.
Join us online at charlierose.com.
I was so eager to go. I've been, you know, so privileged to be given this opportunity to do something for children. And it actually was a great relief for me, because I've sat in front of television so often and been frustrated, or seen photographs or read articles about Ethiopia, and I've been so pent up with that feeling which most of us have, is you can't do anything. And the idea that now I can, however little, is a great relief, and I went very eagerly.
When you left, though, did you have a feeling of hopelessness and depression, or did you come back with a feeling of encouragement?
No. I tell you, it was an extraordinary trip and filled with very mixed emotions. Many of them, of course, were heartbreaking. But I've come back very encouraged, and I'm very optimistic, because basically it's a country that's too poor to help itself, but it needs very little to be able to help itself, because they're very hardworking, very eager to be independent, and then all they ask for really is help to help themselves.
You said in your address today in the news conference that that you felt that if people were helped now as adults, that they would, or as children, that they would remember it all of their lives. And you sounded a little as if you were speaking from your past.
I am, and I think you can use Europe as an example. Everybody there in the last 45 years live in peace and help each other. And I think it is in the human spirit to argue, to quarrel, but it's also in the human spirit to remember a giving hand.
And was it, do you feel that it was as a result of what, the relief that you received when you were a teenager that perhaps led you to this involvement?
The result of that has been that I've known UNICEF all my life, you know, and I've admired and trusted them all this time. And it's a marvelous happening for me that they're allowing me to do this.
You, sometimes articles have been written about the fact that you live in sort of what they call seclusion, and I thought that this is the farthest from seclusion you could come, I guess. Was it difficult at all for you to step out of kind of living alone and away from the public eye to do this?
Well, I don't live in seclusion. I live in the country, which lots of people do, and lots of people like, either weekends or on a permanent basis. It was always my dream as a child and all through my working years was to have a house of my own and a garden, and I love it, and I've had that house for many years now. And I had looked forward to a period, finally, after all the traveling that I've done since I was a child, I've sort of led a circus life, to one day be able to retire there and take care of my garden and the dogs and everything I love. You know, that's my idea of heaven. But I'm moving around the world once again, but I'm happy to do it because for children, I'd go to the moon.
I think, well, I think I know the gifts that he had, and they were, among other things, a tremendous character and
integrity,
total integrity and honesty, and he had great wit and intelligence, many surprising qualities. He could not be bought. He knew the way to live life. He knew that you had to travel a certain road, and he couldn't be bought. And I mean, whenever I'd be at a party, I would look across the room, and wherever there were people laughing and there was fun,
he was there.
He was there.
At the center of it.
Yes, because he was an original. There wasn't anybody like him. And so he was dazzlingly attractive.
Other men liked him.
Other men liked him, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, as well as women.
And a lot of men were terrified of him because they knew that he would speak the truth. And that scares a lot of people, you know.
Did you have reservations about marrying him?
None.
None.
None. Well, when you're 20 years old, why would I have a reservation?
Well, he's 40, whatever he was.
I didn't care. He was younger than I was in many ways. He was 45.
Yeah.
But I mean, because he had more energy than I did. You know, when you're 20, you're like a limp rag. But I mean, he could keep going all night. I mean, he was amazing. But no, because I was so mad about him that I was like a fool. I was an idiot, you know, and he was more than I ever thought I would ever have in my life.
One of the partners is dying.
Yes. Some of me was used up in it. But I didn't feel that it was, I didn't feel that. But I think that every emotion that you experience, you use to some extent. That's not to say that you're cold about viewing something or looking at something or observing an emotion in another person. But I think that our job is to take a kind of quick shutter picture of something.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're aware of it at the time. but nevertheless, that's what you have to draw on, because it's your own reserves.
In this case, because there was everything there with respect to Iris, there were all kinds of material. There were all kinds of people you could talk to. You could literally see where they lived. You
Yes.
could think, you know, smell the place.
Yes.
Did you do all that?
No, I went and sat outside their house in Oxford. And
Sat outside the house?
Yes, I did, in a car. Between two locations I had to do. I went and just looked at the house.
You just sat there and thought and felt and
Yes.
smelled?
And also they were away, and I thought it was interesting that a window was open and the car was in the drive that was also unlocked. That told me something about them.
That they were, here's what it would tell me, that they were open and they weren't sort of...
Careless about materialistic things.
Yeah, a little callous, right, careless, you know, and not fearful of somebody.
No.
You know.
No.
What else did you find out about them in terms of this conversations you would have with friends?
About the fact, I watched 2 videos of her being interviewed. One of which I don't think she liked the interviewer. And another which she patently did like the interviewer. Yes, because her manner was so strange, so different. And also, she was somebody who had no small talk at all. I found lots of lines between her and me. I have no small talk at all.
Yeah.
I also have I had Anglo-Irish parentage. My mother was a Dubliner, and my father was born in Dorset but lived over there. She was also a communist interested in Quakerism, and I am a Quaker. And also, the most perhaps extraordinary thing of all was that Richard Eyre said to me, not really apropos of Iris, do you know something called the lark in the clear air? I said, I do. I said, I was taught that by my mother when I was a little girl, and so was she. And then I read recently that she also used to sing a song called Are You Right, Michael, Are You Right, which also I knew. So there were all sorts of kind of lines of communication that I latched onto.
A very provincial life, some way. And my parents were very generous, very attentive, and at the same time they gave me so much freedom. My parents often they took me to cinema and to see movies, and with them I had the chance to see all the beautiful old Italian movies, and I had the chance to discover all those incredible directors like Fellini, Rossellini, Visconti, De Sica, Antonioni, and of course all their leading ladies like you know, Claudia Cardinale, Sofia Loren, Gina Lollobrigida, Anna Magnani. And I have to say that if I do movies today, it's because I was really inspired by those incredible actresses, but so far away from my reality. And actually, I started out as a model because it was the easiest way to escape from my provincial life. I went to Milan, and then I went to Paris, then I went to New York. I was interested and fascinated by the world of photography and images, and I had the chance to work with incredible photographers like Helmut Newton, Stephen Meisel, and Bruce Weber, and Fabrizio Ferri, and Oliver Toscani. And through pictures, I had the chance to get into movie business because Francis Ford Coppola saw my pictures in a magazine. He wanted to meet me, and I did this little tiny moment in Dracula. And it was a little moment, but even if I was there for a few seconds, I get smitten. And actually after that, I started acting lessons, and I worked, of course, even on languages, because like that I had the chance to work in different countries, because Italian movies, they're not anymore today like used to be, and it's very difficult to become international through Italian movies. But when I work with him, I don't think that is my husband, you know? It's just an actor. a process of acting. But at the same time, what I like about our job is that, of course, there is a part that is technical, but what I like is when I don't know what I'm going to do 3 seconds before the take, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think it's the most interesting part of our work. And it's true that the film is very violent. The first 20 minutes are really violent. And then the film becomes very poetic, very beautiful. And today is Irreversible is a reference. It becomes really a cult movie. Also, we didn't realize that could become so international. And because of course the film went to Cannes, and through Cannes, you know, was a mix of scandal, curiosity, people hated, people loved it, and today is there. And I'm very happy that I had the chance to do this movie. So when I think about Irreversible, you know, it was just a really beautiful present for me.